Origen wrote Homily 9 on Exodus, more specifically on the tabernacle. Actually, it was on the tabernacle within. I don't get it. How is that possible? Shalom and Shalom Israel. Hello Christians. What up to everyone else? Welcome to today's discussion of Something to Think About. It's presented by the brothers. Today's discussion will be on Origen Reimagines the Tabernacle. Homily 9 on Exodus. Hashtag the Tabernacle within. Administrative. I'm going to quickly go over some announcements like I always do. However, if you like, you can jump over to the recap section now and continue there. Setting expectations. I plan on reading virtually everything on my slides and my notes since some people, they can't watch, they can only listen. I will be following a script. It helps me to stay on point. Reminder, this is more like a classroom discussion, so no smoke and daggers here. Pause if needed. Sources. These are some of the sources we will use in today's discussion. Pause if needed. These are some additional sources. Pause if needed. These are the last two sources. Note, we do not claim that any source or image we use or reference is 100. Pause if needed. Fair use disclaimer. This video is for educational and scholarly purposes only. Pause if needed. Doctrine disclaimer. This video contains our personal opinions and interpretations and is not meant to dictate doctrine. This video does not contain hate speech, nor do we advocate violence of any kind. Pause if needed. Recap. What we discussed in the previous video called Tabernacle Defined. We discussed how they define tabernacle. Perpetual aspects of the tabernacle. Example, menorah to burn continually and observed forever. Set the bread before the Lord always. Priests must wash before they minister forever. Holy aspects of the tabernacle. Example, touch the Ark of the Covenant and die. Burn unholy incense and die. Priests must wash before they minister or die. We discussed the lifespan of the tabernacle, the 486-year journey from the divine blueprint given to Moses all the way to Solomon's temple. What we discussed, temple defined. In that video, we discussed how they define temple. Temple items and characteristics are similar to the tabernacle. Solomon enhanced several items used in the temple. We discussed Solomon's temple, the second temple after its destruction, and Herod's renovated, or what some call the third temple. Certain temple items are missing or hidden in a cave. Temple built by Onias in Egypt. Okay, there was another temple in Egypt. Watch the video and we'll explain. Ezekiel's temple vision, a future temple. And we discussed the timeline of the various temples. Before we get into today's discussion, it's a quick break to give all praises to the Most High. How we do it. See you in a minute.
All praise to the Most High.
All right now.
All
Sing it.
praise to the Most High.
Go ahead, brother.
All
Come on now.
All
praise to
praises.
the Most High.
All right now.
All
praises.
praise to the Most High.
Praise him. Come on now. Come on.
All praises.
All praises.
Come on now.
All praises.
All right now.
To the Most High. To the High. Praises. Come on now. All
Go ahead, brother.
praises. All praises. Praise high. Praises. Praise high. Praise to the Most High.
Yahawashi.
Okay, again, I hope you enjoyed that little break. We call all praises to the Most High. Without the Most High, I couldn't do what I do. You couldn't do what you do. Let's continue. Origen's view of the tabernacle. This series in general is on Christianity and the canonization process. Today's discussion will be solely on Origen's homily of the tabernacle and how he totally diminished the entire tabernacle experience and various aspects of the worship system created by the Most High. In this discussion, we will demonstrate how Origen transformed the literal tabernacle that housed the glory of the Most High to the human flesh now housing the tabernacle that houses the glory. Hashtag the tabernacle within. Note, these pictures here, this tabernacle right here, and this person with the tabernacle within, not real depictions of anything. They are artist renditions only, okay? Nothing we use as far as imagery we consider 100. They're just concepts. Agenda. We're going to go over who is Origen. That man. One tabernacle. Jesus did not enter the tabernacle. Other holy men of old. King David's desire. Origen invokes Paul, Jesus, and the Gospels. The Imperfect Tabernacle. Constructing the tabernacle. Individual tabernacles. High priest clothing. And conclusion with a quick summary. Origen. Who this? So Origen of Alexandria, born approximately 185 AD, died approximately 253 AD.
Look him up.
Look him up. Look him up. He's an early church father and Christian scholar, very influential Christian theologian. I am borrowing this slide from a previous video. If you would like some high-level overviews of several early church fathers, please watch Early Church Fathers Landscape Timeline, Episode 8. So, Origen, born Alexandria, Egypt, under the Roman Empire. Known for textual criticism, biblical exegesis, and hermeneutics. Okay, he knows how to interpret some stuff. Literature against Celsus and commentaries on John and Matthew, and many others. Most important work on textual criticism was the Hexapla, Sixfold, a massive comparative study of various translations of the Old Testament in 6 columns. We discussed in this slide right here, all of these data points at the top, these milestones, we discussed them all in a previous video that I just mentioned, Early Church Fathers Landscape Timeline, Episode 8. This here shows that Origen lived approximately 185 to 253 AD. So as you can see right here, it was about 50 years after the Third Jewish-Roman War, the Bar Kokhba Revolt. Okay, it was also before the Edict of Milan in 313 AD. Okay, what is that edict? It is an agreement to treat Christians respectfully within the Roman Empire. It gave Christianity legal status and reprieve from persecution. Sources claim that Christianity was regarded as a cult prior to this point. So when you think about Origen, understand it was after the Third Jewish-Roman War, before the Edict of Milan. He was going through some persecution. He, in my opinion, was trying to create this Christian religion. And based on these 2 data points, keep that in mind as we go forward. That man. Who that? We will find out who that in Homilies on Genesis and Exodus.
Look it up.
Look it up. This is written by Origen. This publication date was 1892, but his writings were way back in the 3rd century. Origen has a lot to say about the tabernacle, so much so that he has dedicated an entire homily or sermon or dissertation on the tabernacle. So let's see what Origen has to say about that man in his opening monologue. This particular homily starts on page 334 of this source. Origen states, "If anyone properly understands the departure of the Hebrews from Egypt, or the crossing of the Red Sea, and this whole journey through the desert and every single campsite, if he is capable of understanding these things in such a way that he also may receive the law of God written not with ink, but with the Spirit of the living God, if anyone, I say, should give his attention to these matters in the order of their sequence and spiritually fulfilling each, should acquire the growth in virtues indicated in each, that man can consequently also attain to the contemplation and understanding of the tabernacle." The divine scriptures speak about this tabernacle in many places. They appear to indicate certain things of which human hearing can scarcely be capable. Okay? The Apostle Paul, especially, however, relates to us certain indications of a more excellent knowledge about the understanding of the tabernacle. But for some unknown reason, perhaps considering the weakness of his hearers, closes, as it were, those very things which he opens. You getting all that? My thoughts, Origen's opening monologue. Origen is bragging about a man that understands the Hebrew departure from Egypt, etc. That man's understanding makes him able to receive the law of God not written in ink, okay? Not written in ink, not the Mosaic law, not written on tablets of stone, but written with the Spirit of God. Because of this ability, this man has given great attention to this topic in the order of their sequence and the spiritual fulfillment of each event. So much so that this man can also understand and explain to us the importance of the tabernacle. My thoughts, divine scriptures. Origen states that divine scriptures speak about this tabernacle in many places. Recall in our video titled Canon Overview 3, They Control the Narrative, Episode 3, we pointed out some key findings in the source, the canon debate, okay, right up here on the left. In general, Israelites had scriptures, they had epistles. Church got the idea of sacred scriptures from us, Israel. They have elevated some epistles and or letters to the status of sacred writings and or scriptures, our sacred writings. They elevated some letters that were circulating around the church to the status of sacred writings. During the early church days, it became obvious that written gospels and eventually the letters of Paul were accepted. Some writings ceased to be relevant to the religious needs of some Christian communities. These writings also ceased to be canon to those communities. Some of these neglected writings included the disappearance of complete books from the canon. Keep in mind these events and the Edict of Milan as we proceed. My thoughts, that man. According to Origen, that man shows signs of a more excellent knowledge about the understanding of the tabernacle than other people. Recall that some of Paul's teachings are simply hard to understand by the unlearned, unstable, or ignorant individuals. You can find that in 2 Peter 3, 15 and 16. That man has produced divine scriptures relating to the tabernacle, some of which humans can scarcely comprehend, due to the weakness of those who hear his message, because they close the very things Paul reveals to them. This whole present life is insufficient for explaining these things because of the greatness of the mysteries. Other revelations are open to those who seek and knock. One who understands Paul's meaning know how great a sea of understanding he has disclosed to us. Okay? These last three bullet points are further down on page 335 or further down in section 1, paragraph 2. I did not call them out in the previous slides. Okay? This dude up here, Origen, he is all in on Paul. One tabernacle. My observations. Origen is dictating a sermon on the tabernacle. He will incorporate some of Paul's teachings in his sermon since Paul, supposedly, is smart. Origen states that man can break down the understanding of the tabernacle. The divine scriptures speak about this tabernacle. Paul especially has a more excellent knowledge and understanding of the tabernacle. Okay, it is my opinion there is one tabernacle. Okay, it's my opinion. When I read the book of Exodus, I see one tabernacle. There is only one tabernacle, the Mosaic tabernacle. Again, my opinion. Many Christians conflate the human body tabernacle with the Mosaic tabernacle when describing the Christian religion. The human body is not the tabernacle. It is simply a different type of tabernacle. The Mosaic tabernacle has nothing to do with the Christian religion. I do not think Christians would argue that point, in my opinion. I will now summarize my thoughts on Origen's message, Homily 9 on Exodus, titled On the Tabernacle. We're going to start with Jesus did not enter the tabernacle. Okay? That's on page 335 or section 1, paragraph 2. Let's see what Origen has to say about Jesus not entering the tabernacle. Okay?
Look it up.
Look it up. He, talking about Paul, repeats, therefore, about the tabernacle and says, for Jesus has not entered into holy places made with hands, patterns of the true, but into heaven itself. Holy places made with hands. Origen starts off his demeaning sermon on the tabernacle with a subtle jab at the tabernacle made with hands. He implies that Jesus himself did not want or desire to enter any holy place made with hands, in my opinion. Instead, Jesus went straight into heaven itself. The epistle that discusses holy places made with hands. Origen is obviously quoting Hebrews. Hebrews 9:24 KJV. For Christ is not entered into the holy places made with hands, which are figures of the true, but into heaven itself, now to appear in the presence of God for us. Why did Jesus not enter? Specifically, not enter the tabernacle. Origen believes that Paul wrote Hebrews and is therefore supposedly quoting Paul. The question is, why did Jesus not enter into the tabernacle? Okay, pause real quick. I'm going to put an emphasis here. Why did Jesus not enter into the tabernacle? Okay, let's see. Is it because the Mosaic tabernacle was replaced by Solomon's temple almost 1,000 years earlier? Is that why Jesus did not enter the tabernacle? It's because it was not erect at the time that he walked this planet? Okay?
That's something to think about.
That's something to think about. Is it because Jesus is not a Levitical priest or even a Levite? Okay? Did Jesus have respect for the tabernacle and or temple protocol? Maybe that's why he didn't enter. Did he have respect for the laws, statutes, and commandments relating to the system of worship regarding the tabernacle and temple?
That's something to think about.
Okay? Maybe those are reasons why he did not enter the tabernacle. We just getting started. Understand that we are still on the second paragraph of this homily. David, other holy men of God, page 335 or section 2, paragraph 1. Let us see, therefore, if some of the holy men of old also did not hold an opinion of the tabernacle far different than those latter now suppose. Hear how magnificently David, a distinguished man of the prophets, felt about the tabernacle. Other holy men of God, David. Understand that Origen has mentioned Jesus and Paul so far. It seems clear that Origen is stating that either Jesus and or Paul, whoever might be compared to holy men of old, have an unfavorable view of the tabernacle. Origen is now curious if there are holy men of old who share the same unfavorable view of the tabernacle as Jesus and or Paul. Origen invokes King David as if he also has an unfavorable view of the tabernacle. Origen then points out what seems to be complaints about the occupants of the tabernacle in the upcoming slides. It is said to me day after day, "Where is your God? Lord, who will dwell in your tabernacle? Or who will rest in your holy mountain? He who enters without a spot and works justice," etc. David and the tabernacle. We understand that David is not too happy with the tabernacle. We acknowledge that some transgressions did occur during the tabernacle era. When some transgressions happened during the temple era, Origen applies those transgressions to the tabernacle era as well. You'll see that coming up. As you continue reading this homily, it is obvious that Origen conflates what happens in the temple era with the tabernacle era so he can further denigrate the temple. For example, Jesus not entering the temple. Jesus didn't live during the tabernacle era, he lived during the temple era. But Origen is taking what Jesus didn't do in his life and applying it to something that didn't exist, or let's say wasn't erect for more than 1,000 years, almost 1,000 years before. David's frustration with the tabernacle. 2 Samuel 7, 1 and 2, KJV. And it came to pass, when the king sat in his house, and the Lord had given him rest round about from all his enemies, that the king said to Nathan the prophet, "See now, I dwell in a house of cedar, but the ark of God dwelleth within curtains." Okay? Understand that the Mosaic tabernacle had been in service for almost 450 years when David makes this observation here in 2 Samuel. Think about that. 450 years this, let's say, curtain structure was in service. King David made this observation. Psalm 132, 3-5, KJV. "Surely I will not come into the tabernacle of my house, nor go up into my bed. I will not give sleep to my eyes, or slumber to my eyelids, until I find out a place for the Lord, an habitation for the mighty God of Jacob." This appears to be a better reason for David's negative feelings toward the tabernacle. He wanted a better place for the ark of the Lord to rest. Origen invokes King David's frustration. Starting on the last sentence of page 335 or the middle of section 2, paragraph 1. Let's see how Origen further denigrates the tabernacle using King David. What then is that place of the wonderful tabernacle from which one enters the house of God, because of whose memory his soul has been poured out in him, and as it were, has been dissipated in a kind of intolerable desire? Origen is referencing the wonderful tabernacle right here from the previous paragraph. Pay attention to Origen's choice of words, okay? Intolerable desire. Are we really to believe that the prophet, David he's talking about, desiring that tabernacle, which consisted of hides and curtains and goat hair coverings and other common materials, Or certainly, how will it be true to say about that tabernacle that only the innocent in hands and pure in heart will inhabit it? When the history of the kings transmits that the worst priests, sons of pestilence, have dwelt in the tabernacle of God. Okay? Notice how Origen is not referring to the tabernacle here, but switches to say the tabernacle of God. Okay? Pay attention. And the Ark of the Covenant itself also was captured by foreigners and detained with the impious and profane. Whose fault was this? Was that the tabernacle's fault that the ark got captured? We discussed this event in the Tabernacle Defined, episode 14. King David's desire. This is the boring stuff, okay? Definitions. Like I mentioned before in previous discussions, we like to use dictionaries from the 1800s to 1913. They seem to be more authentic. How they define intolerable. Not tolerable, not capable of being borne or endured. Insufferable, as intolerable laziness. Not proper or right to be allowed. Insufferable, insupportable, unbearable. Enormous. King David, intolerable desire? Is that true? What was David's desire according to Origen? Recall, are we really to believe that the prophet David, desiring that tabernacle, which consisted of hides, curtains, and goat hair coverings, and other common materials? Recall, how will it be true to say about that tabernacle? Was David's desire to degrade the Mosaic tabernacle? Or to build a better sanctuary, according to 2 Samuel 7, 1 and 2, Psalm 132, 3 to 5. Was David's true desire intolerable, not capable of being built, insupportable, unbearable, too enormous, or not allowed? Okay, something to think about. Origen using King David. Or is Origen talking about some other kind of tabernacle, one not made with hands? If Origen is talking about the heavenly tabernacle, or even one consisting of flesh, he did not have to misinterpret and incorporate David's desire into his sermon. Origen is implying that David's frustration with the tabernacle was actually David demeaning the tabernacle. In fact, speaking against the Most High's sanctuary. Origen should not have used David to denigrate the tabernacle. The tabernacle or temple. Origen mentions the history of the kings, the worst priests, and the sons of pestilence have dwelt in the tabernacle of God. This seems to reference more than just the kings and priests during the tabernacle era. Also notice how Origen is not referring to the tabernacle here, but switches to say the tabernacle of God, which could mean the temples as well, a place of worship. Again, Origen seems to conflate what happened in the temple era with the tabernacle so he can further denigrate the tabernacle. Origen uses Paul, Jesus, and the Gospels. Page 336 or section 2, paragraph 2. But let us come also to the Gospels to see if they say anything about tabernacles. Origen is only referencing the Gospels to imply that they do in fact have something negative to say about the tabernacles. Okay? But let us come also to the Gospels to see if they say anything about tabernacles. That the Lord's judgment might provide an unquestionable answer to our question. Recall that a judgment is considering the result of sentencing or fulfilling or failing to fulfill a commandment in the Torah. Okay, so it's considered fulfilling a sentence in the law. Please view our video, The Mosaic Law Defined, episode 11, for more on judgment. Okay, the Lord's judgment, fulfilling of a sentence basically, provides an unquestionable answer. We discovered then the Savior Jesus Christ himself mentioning not one tabernacle, but many, and not temporal, but eternal tabernacles. Now hear the apostle also saying, we desire to be clothed with our tabernacle, which is from heaven. Understand that Christians do not desire the earthly tabernacle or temple, in my opinion. They want heavenly or spiritual stuff. They want nothing to do with the earthly tabernacle or temple, in my opinion. The new tabernacle, many and eternal. Origen is definitely implying that the Gospels do in fact have something negative to say about the tabernacle. Also note that the Lord will provide an answer that you will not be able to question. Lord will provide an unquestionable answer. The tabernacle before Solomon's temple was a single physical structure built by man's hands. Now Origen is conflating the tabernacle with a different kind and many tabernacles. Origen also quotes Paul, be clothed with our tabernacle, which is from heaven. 2 Corinthians 5:2. When Origen said the Lord will provide an unquestionable answer, that is their way of saying the discussion is over before it begins. The Lord said it, so that's it. What he says is unquestionable. Jesus says there were many tabernacles, so there are many, not just one tabernacle. Okay, you get it? He said there's many, so then the one that Israelites talk about is not one tabernacle. Jesus said many. That's unquestionable, according to Origen. Imperfect Tabernacle. Page 337, or section 2, paragraph 3. We will now see how Origen claims that the tabernacle is imperfect. Starting mid-sentence, we see, ascend to heaven and there seek the magnificence of the eternal tabernacle, whose form is imperfectly represented on earth by Moses. Imperfectly represented on earth by Moses. Okay, Moses messed up. The Lord says to him, see to it, the text says, you shall make all things according to the form which has been shown to you. But the human mind, and especially ours, who know that we are the least or even nobodies in divine wisdom. Origen continues by saying that these things are said not of earthly things, but of heavenly, and are forms not of present, but of future goods, not of corporal things, but of spiritual. But how the narrative of these things can be applied to heavenly and eternal things is not in my power to say, nor, as I think, in your capacity to hear. Nevertheless, we will attempt to make known a few things which pertain to the edification of the church. It is always about the Christian church, always about growing and or promoting Christianity. It was never, nor will it ever be, about edifying Israel. Okay?
That's something to think about.
Keep that in mind. Claims made by Origen. Origen claims the eternal tabernacle was imperfectly represented on earth by Moses. Claims we humans are the least or even nobodies when it comes to divine wisdom. Claims the instructions regarding the eternal tabernacle are not of earthly things, but of heavenly, future goods and spiritual things. Claims how the narrative of these things can be applied to heavenly and eternal things is not in his power to say. Okay? Not in his power to say. Claims the narrative of these things are not in our capacity to hear. Nevertheless, Origen will attempt to make known a few things which pertain to the edification of the church, to promote his religion, Christianity. Okay? He's trying to grow Christianity. They are being persecuted. Let's continue. Constructing the Tabernacle. Page 337, or section 3, paragraph 1. After Origen makes all of his claims regarding the imperfect tabernacle constructed by Moses, Origen is now pointing out some of the steps taken in an attempt to make this earthly representation of the heavenly and spiritual tabernacle. Okay? All of the people are ordered to construct the tabernacle. Everyone contributing all he can. The contribution itself is not made of necessity, but of free will. Women who have weaving skill are also required. Next, the measurements of the courts are delivered. The holy place, the Holy of Holies, Ark of the Covenant is placed inside, etc. I personally think Origen is just reading Exodus, in my opinion. Look at what these nobodies, according to Origen, are trying to accomplish. Some of what Origen talks about is hard to follow, which makes it somewhat difficult to walk you through it. However, I'm going to keep trying. Continuing on page 338, or section 3, paragraph 2, Origen asks, but why am I going through these things piece by piece? We can scarcely narrate so much. It is scarcely possible that the material forms themselves be brought before our eyes. And how will anyone be sufficient to explain the mysteries hidden in these things? Mysteries hidden in these things, okay? Especially to a bunch of nobodies. How are you going to explain the mysteries to a bunch of nobodies? Let's see. Explain the hidden mysteries. Okay, so continuing on page 338, section 3, paragraph 3. Why make a sanctuary or a tabernacle? Answer, so we can see God. An attribute of this sanctuary is similar to virgins, that they may be holy in body and spirit. Make a sanctuary for the Lord both collectively and individually. The church, which is holy and not having spot or blemish, is a sanctuary. The pillars of this sanctuary are its teachers and ministers. These teachers are joined and are associated by the right hand of fellowship. Recall, Origen is explaining why he is going through these things piece by piece, constructing the tabernacle for the edification of the church. Continuing on page 339, or section 3, paragraph 4, we see the pillars are overlaid with silver, the pure words of the Lord, which are proved by fire. The prophets are the support basis of their preaching, just like the actual pillars have bases for the erected or built up church. The capital pillar is Christ. The curtains, rings, and cords represent holding the remaining multitude of believers who cling to and hang on the cords of faith. This is the faith in the Trinity from which the whole church hangs. There's more. Continuing on pages 339, 340, or section 3, paragraphs 4 and 5. The law introduced in the Gospels represents the 28 cubits in length and the 4 in breadth, which are the measure of one court. I'm going to read that again. The law introduced in the Gospels represents the 28 cubits in length and the 4 in breadth, which are the measure of one court. Where did he get that from? I don't think the Most High told him that. The number 7 usually signifies the law because of the many mysteries of the 7th number. Again, this is Origen speaking. This isn't me making a conclusion, okay? When this number 7 is united with 4, 4 times 7 consequently makes the number 28. Whoa, mathematics at its finest. This guy graduated 3rd grade. These 10 courts were constructed that they might contain the whole number of perfection and represent the decalogue of the law. Okay, you see that? How you put 10 courts and decalogue together? Okay, in other words, these 10 courts represent the 10 commandments. I do not know where Origen got these 10 courts from, and I do not know what the heck he is talking about. Maybe a Christian can explain this to me. Okay, explain this 10 court stuff in the 28 cubits in length, etc. Forms of individual virtues. Continuing on page 340, or section 3, paragraph 5. These virtues are indicated by things which the church is adorned or distinguished. Faith can be compared to gold, the word of preaching to silver, patience to bronze, virginity to linen, I believe this is white, the glory of suffering to scarlet, the splendor of love to purple, the hope of the kingdom of heaven to blue. Just some more excerpts from Origen's homily on the tabernacle. I don't get where he is going, but this seems to be someone just creating a religion, I suppose. Okay? Individual tabernacles. Pages 340 to 342, or section 4, paragraphs 1 to 3. Continuing on page 340, section 4, paragraph 1.
Look it up.
Look it up. Each one of us, however, can also build a tabernacle for God in himself. This tabernacle represents the whole world. And each individual also can contain an image of the world. Why cannot each one also complete a form of the tabernacle in himself? Well, that's a good question. Maybe it's because we do not have the proper permits from the city, or my HOA did not give me permission. Maybe that's why we cannot build this tabernacle within ourselves. On top of the fact, we're a bunch of nobodies, according to Origen. It is also possible to extend the courts in yourself when your heart enlarges. Origen quotes Paul again from Corinthians. We will now explore some of the contents of these individual tabernacles. Individual tabernacle descriptions and/or details. Everyone can build a tabernacle for God and himself. Sure they can. This tabernacle represents the whole world. Sure it does. Each individual can also contain an image of the world. Applies the silver pillars of virtues to himself. Rational patience. ability to extend the courts, I'm assuming courtyards, within one's self. How? When your heart enlarges in accordance with the word of the apostle to the Corinthians. The ability to defend himself with bars when he has bound himself with the unanimity of love. Individual tabernacle within. See that? That tabernacle's right inside of him. As you can see, it is looking quite nice. What are some additional attributes of this new tabernacle within? The silver bases represent the stability of the Word of God, the prophetic and apostolic word. Contains an immovable altar which offers sacrifices of prayers and victims of mercy to God. An altar which may sacrifice pride as a bull with the knife of temperance. An altar which may sacrifice pride as a bull with the knife of temperance. Okay? An altar which may slay wrath as a ram and offer all luxury and lust like he-goats and kids. The apostolic word is the 12 loaves of showbread. There is more, but I'm going to let you read it for yourself. This was just a taste of what this supposed individual tabernacle contains. On page 345 or section 4, paragraph 6, we see Origen making this claim. For it was not said in vain that the fathers dwelt in tabernacles. I understand that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob dwelt in tabernacles as follows. For those men who adorned themselves with such great splendors of virtues built within themselves a tabernacle for God. There you have it. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob not only dwelt in tabernacles, they built themselves tabernacles within themselves. Okay?
That's something to think about.
Okay, keep that in mind. The high priest clothing. Page 343 or section 4, paragraph 4. What does Origen have to say about the high priest clothing? But over and above all this splendor, let him wear the adornment of the high priest. Who is this person that should wear the items of the high priest? It is the one who has the tabernacle of God within himself. Okay, understand that? For that part which is the most precious in man can hold the office of high priest. So, what are the new clothing requirements for the high priest? Anyone who has the tabernacle of God within himself can be a high priest, the most precious part within a man. Attributes: overseer of the heart, rational understanding, intellectual substance, ability to have a capacity for God. The man be clothed with chastity, long linen priestly garment, free from unlawful sexual intercourse, moral purity. A cape adorned with jewels in which men, seeing your works, may magnify the Father who is in heaven. Have bells around the hem of his garment, the bells down here, so that you might never keep silent about the last times and the end of the world. Again, these are just some of Origen's new clothing styles. The end of the world is at hand. The end of the world is at hand. I was just testing my new bells. Let's continue. The breastplate and the golden plate on the forehead represent the truth of the faith and the manifestation of the Trinity. His private parts covered, that he may be holy in body and spirit, and pure in thoughts and deeds. The Holy of Holies, entered only once, is the passage to heaven. Wow, I learned a lot today. I hope you did too. Conclusion. Lack of power and authority. Recall that the brothers are not camp leaders, teachers, spiritual advisors, etc. We just present information in an attempt to make sense of everything, trying to figure it out. Due to this, I say things like, I believe, it is my understanding, I think, it appears that, in my opinion, etc. Origen speaks that same way. That is why he invokes Paul, in my opinion. It appears that Origen did not speak with authority in his homily, as if he was just trying to figure it out. Did you get that impression? Like he's trying to figure out Christianity. As if he was in the process of creating a religion. In Origen's homily, he says things like, it is not in my power to say, nor as I think, in your capacity to hear. The capital of the pillars, however, I believe, is he of whom the apostle says, they appear to indicate certain things. I think that the law introduced in the Gospels is. The purpose of this, I think, is that you might never. But the Holy of Holies, which is entered only once, is, I think, the passage to heaven. I understand that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob dwelt in tabernacles as follows. I also thus understand the Feast of the Tabernacles, which the law commands that the people might go out on a certain day. And let us not forget, at the beginning of this discussion, I pointed out that Origen is all in on Paul, leaning on Paul's understanding. Okay? Recall how Origen claimed the tabernacle was imperfect. Does the Torah agree? Tabernacle, divine pattern. Exodus 25, 8-9 NLT. Have the people of Israel build me a holy sanctuary so I can live among them. You must build the tabernacle and its furnishings exactly according to the pattern I will show you. The tabernacle's design was given directly by God to Moses on Mount Sinai, Exodus chapters 25-31. God instructed Moses to follow the blueprint exactly as instructed. Origen was throwing shade at the competence of Moses and the builders. Tabernacle was perfect, Exodus 39, 42-43 NLT. So the people of Israel followed all of the Lord's instructions, okay? All of the Lord's instructions to Moses. Then Moses inspected all of their work. When he found it had been done just as the Lord had commanded him, he blessed them. The tabernacle was built exactly as the Most High commanded, and it was perfect. Summary on Homily 9 on Exodus. Origen has written an entire homily, sermon, message devoted to diminishing, belittling, degrading, and defaming the tabernacle that the Most High requested Moses to build. He diminished the entire tabernacle experience and all aspects of the worship system of the Most High. One-man wrecking crew single-handedly destroyed the importance of the Mosaic tabernacle to the Israelite community, our heritage. Totally obliterates the purpose of the tabernacle, along with diminishing and/or transforming the duties of the high priest. Origen has another entire homily titled Homily 13 on Exodus, titled On Those Objects Which Are Offered for the Tabernacle. I might reference this particular homily in the next video. They act as if there is a problem with something built by Israelites. They claim a 66-book canon. However, it appears that they only utilize all 66 books when they want to diminish the Israelite experience, in my opinion. They are simply attempting to create they religion. And when they do, they always seem to tear down Israelite history, heritage, and holy items. Any and all things Israel. They should create their religion and leave Israel out. Okay? Leave us out of it. Closing thoughts. My man Origen. Origen claims that each person can build a tabernacle for God in himself. Origen claims that Moses built an imperfect tabernacle. Origen claims that we humans are the least or even nobodies when it comes to divine wisdom.
That's something to think about.
Okay? That's something to think about. How then are we capable of building any tabernacle within ourselves if we are nobodies?
Now that's really something to think about.
Okay? We can't build the other one perfectly. So how are we going to build this one at all? We're just a bunch of nobodies according to Origen. Origen claims David's desire was intolerable. However, David desired to build a better sanctuary for the Most High, which was indeed tolerable, capable of being built, approved by the Most High, very much possible, and actually completed.
That's something to think about.
Okay? Keep that in mind. On the other hand, maybe Origen's desire is the one that is intolerable. To build a tabernacle within. Is this capable of being built? Was this actually approved by the Most High? Is it actually unsupportable? Is it too enormous a task for a bunch of nobodies? And impossible to build?
That's something to think about.
Okay? Many Christians claim that Jesus is the Most High God in the flesh. If Jesus is the Most High God in the flesh, then why not just walk into the tabernacle? After all, it's his house. It's his dwelling place. It's his sanctuary. He designed it for himself.
That's something to think about.
Okay? If he's the Most High God, he designed it for himself. It's your house. Walk in. Origen claims that tabernacle was imperfect. The Torah says the tabernacle was perfect. It had been done just as the Lord commanded, Exodus 39 and 43 NLT. That is unquestionable. End of discussion.
Now that's really something to think about.
And actually, That is the end of discussion of today's topic. Origen reimagines the tabernacle. Homily 9 on Exodus. Hashtag the tabernacle within. Lord willing, we will cover these topics in upcoming videos in our series on Christianity and the canon. Okay, the Promised Land, we got the Apocrypha, Not So Silent Years, the Septuagint, what books were in there, Councils, Synods, Church Fathers, 22, 24, 39 book Old Testament. Well, which one is it? All of them or none of them? New Testament canon and canon by punishment. Research.
Remember, do your own research.
Remember, do your own research. The views contained in this video were our personal opinions and our interpretations of sources used and were not meant to dictate doctrine. We recommend to everyone, do your own research. We plan to list all of our sources that we use in all of our videos. We are citing the sources and, when appropriate, providing page numbers so you can trust but verify. We encourage everyone, read as much as you can. There is a lot of historical Christian literature out there for all of us to access. We admit some material is hard to find. We want to thank you for watching Something to Think About. I am Brother Mitch. My brother is Brother Mike. We are the brothers. We are disciples of Yahawashi. I want to say shalom and shalom to Israel. Goodbye, Christians. Hi to everyone else. Till next time.
Follow the brothers.
On YouTube,
Fanbase.
X,
Hebrew Connect TV. Rumble.
Or visit their website.
See also Facebook, Gab, and Truth.
The following is an HBO special featuring the brothers.
Yo, can you help the brothers out?
HBO special.
you can use PayPal.
The brothers need some digital money.
Or you can use Cash App.
Every little bit helps.
Please support their efforts.
You can even use a credit card.
And Venmo.
Why are you selling cookies?
Please help support this organization.
It's okay if you can't give. Just spread the word.
That's just as important as giving.
Great.